Humanoid robots at home. SwitchBot Onero H1. Humanoid robots in your home. Not in a lab, not on a stage, in your actual house, walking up to your coffee machine, grabbing a mug, and getting to work like it pays rent. That's the viral claim lighting up timelines right now, and it has a name. SwitchBot Onero H1. And yes, SwitchBot, the company you probably know for little smart home gadgets that push buttons, tilt blinds, and move your curtains. So how did we go from press this light switch to here's a humanoid helper? And more importantly, is this real or is this another carefully edited demo that collapses the second a toddler drops a Lego on the floor? Because there's one detail in this announcement that changes everything. We'll get to it. First, the scene. At CES 2026, SwitchBot showed off what they're calling Smart Home 2.0, a home that doesn't just automate, it observes, makes decisions, and takes proactive action. And right in the middle of that vision is their new household humanoid, Onero H1. SwitchBot's own CES press release calls it the most accessible AI household robot. And accessible is doing some heavy lifting, because SwitchBot's US store is currently listing Onero H1 at $9,999. Now imagine that thing rolling into your living room like it owns the place. So today, we're breaking this down in escalating order. The viral claim, what SwitchBot actually announced. The demo moments that look unreal. The hidden constraints nobody clips into the edits. What it would take to work in a real home. And the big takeaway, what's real now versus what's next. All right, let's get it. The viral claim. If you only saw the clips, the story is simple. A humanoid robot walks around like a quiet roommate, loads the laundry, makes coffee, and never bumps into your dog. Basically, Optimus, but for your apartment. And the internet, as always, is doing what the internet does. Wait, is SwitchBot shipping a home humanoid before Tesla? Is this the first real robot made? Is this the beginning of human labor becoming optional? My. But SwitchBot isn't selling you a sci-fi butler. They're selling you something much sneakier. What SwitchBot actually announced. Here's the grounded version from SwitchBot's own CES material. Onero H1 is meant to tackle chores that are difficult to automate, and it's designed to adapt across domestic scenarios instead of being locked into one job. SwitchBot says it's built on core embodied AI capabilities, has 22 degrees of freedom, and runs an on-device OmniSense VLA model. That's a vision language action model, paired with a stack that includes vision, depth awareness, and tactile feedback. Translation: see the scene, understand the instruction, do the action, and don't treat the real world like a video game. Quick nerd translation, because these terms matter. 22 degrees of freedom is basically how many independent joints and axes the robot can control. More degrees of freedom means more human-like motion and more ways to fail. And a VLA model, vision language action, is the new hot idea in robotics. The model sees the scene, reads a natural language command, and outputs the action sequence. That's why learn and adapt really means software updates, not just hardware. But the most important word in their description is coordination. SwitchBot says Onero H1 is designed to learn, adapt, and work together with SwitchBot's existing ecosystem of task-specific robots and devices. That's the first quiet reveal. This isn't a lone superhero robot. It's an ecosystem play. And SwitchBot is also teasing Robotic Arms A1 as part of the same push, with pre-orders soon. Their US store lists an Onero A1 robotic arm at $799 and describes it as lightweight, open source, and compatible with ROS2 and Move It 2, which is basically SwitchBot saying, developers, come build skills for this thing. Now let's talk about why the demo feels like magic. The demo moments that look unreal. In CES coverage, Onero H1 is shown doing the exact kind of contact-heavy actions that normally break robots. Grasping, pushing, opening, organizing. And that sounds basic until you remember how chaotic homes are. A door handle isn't one object. It's friction, angles, force, and why is this stuck today? Yet the robot is shown handling tasks like making coffee, preparing breakfast, loading a washing machine, folding clothes, and even washing a window. Chores that look easy to humans and are brutal for machines. And the design is telling. And by the way, it doesn't walk on legs. It rolls on wheels, which sounds less cool, until you realize it's a cheat code, stable platform, lower center of gravity, less risk, less power waste. Plus, hands-on reporting notes the robot is packed with cameras, not just in the head, but on the body and arms. Because manipulation is basically impossible if your brain doesn't have constant visual context. So yes, the demos are impressive. But the hidden constraints live in what they don't show. The hidden constraints they don't show. Let's run the real home test, not the showroom apartment, your house. Here's what the viral clips don't show. 1. The house is hostile to perception. Lighting changes, glare happens, mirrors exist, black surfaces exist. A plastic bag can turn into an optical illusion. 2. The objects are infinite. In a factory, you have 12 parts. In a home, you have 12,000 objects, and half of them are miscellaneous. Robot hands love repeatable grips. Homes are the kingdom of this shape has never existed before. 3. Everything moves. Pets, kids, guests. A chair that was here 10 seconds ago is now in the hallway for no reason. And if a robot is operating around people, mostly correct isn't good enough. The last 10% of reliability is where robots die, because the last 10% is sharp edges, hot drinks, fingers, and unpredictable humans. Now add the wheeled base. Wheels are great, until you meet stairs, thick rugs, clutter, and the classic home boss fight. Cables. If it can't do stairs, it can't be whole home. It's one floor, if you're nice. And now the part nobody wants to talk about, the brain. SwitchBot says this robot is powered by their AI hub as the home's central brain, and SwitchBot's AI hub is marketed as a next-gen hub with a built-in local vision language model that uses camera input. New users get a 1-month free trial, and then SwitchBot says a subscription is needed for continued use. And the AI hub piece is not just marketing fluff. SwitchBot describes it as an edge hub with a local vision language model that takes camera input from SwitchBot cameras or RTSP streams. There's a 1-month free trial, and then SwitchBot says a subscription is needed for continued use of the VLM. It also advertises Matter over Bridge, MQTT, and offline-friendly local recording with expandable storage up to 16 terabytes. Translation. SwitchBot is building a house-wide perception layer, and the humanoid is the part that can finally touch stuff. And yes, their CES page even sells the vibe. Proactive help, emotional companionship, wellness. That's a pitch. The gap between pitch and deployment is where robots live or die. Which brings us to the next escalation. What would it actually take for Onero H1 to work in a normal home? What it would take to work in a real home. Here's the uncomfortable truth about home humanoids. You don't just need a robot, you need an operating system for reality. Because chores aren't one action, they're chains. Make coffee means find a mug, open a cabinet, don't chip the mug, operate the machine, clean the spill you didn't expect, and don't clothesline the cat with your robotic elbow. So for a home humanoid to become a real worker, it needs 3 things. First, a safe boundary. In robotics, this is the operational design domain, where it's allowed to operate. Most demos look amazing because the boundary is secretly tiny. Clean room, clean counter, predictable object set. Second, reliable skills, not, it can move. Named skills you can trust. Load the washer. Wipe the counter. Bring my keys. This is where SwitchBot's ecosystem approach matters, because SwitchBot already sells products that turn messy, real-world actions into structured, repeatable actions. A curtain robot doesn't need a humanoid. A lock robot doesn't need a humanoid. But a humanoid can connect the messy gaps between those systems when it's ready. Third, time in the wild. The model that looks great at CES is not the model that survives your Tuesday. Real deployment is months of edge cases across different homes, lighting, furniture, and users. And you don't solve that with one big brain moment. You solve it with a loop, deploy, observe, update, repeat. Which is why SwitchBot's AI hub as central brain idea matters. Not because it sounds cool, because it's their pipeline. And that leads to the big takeaway. Because here's the twist. The most important part of Onero H1 might not be Onero H1. The big takeaway. What's real now versus what's next? So, is SwitchBot shipping a robot maid? Not yet. What they've shown is a real step toward embodied AI in the home, and they're unusually explicit about the stack. 22 degrees of freedom, an on-device vision language action model, tactile feedback, and depth awareness, and coordination with a wider smart home ecosystem. And yes, the store listing price of $9,999 is wild, but it also signals the ambition. This is not a $100,000 research humanoid. This is a consumer-ish product category, coming soon and pre-order language included. Here's what's real now. The direction is manipulation in a home-like environment. Here's what's next. Home humanoids won't win by being the strongest. They'll win by being the most integrated. Because the robot that actually works in your home is the robot that can cheat. Cheat with sensors, cheat with routines, cheat with devices that already know what's happening, cheat with a central brain that has context before the robot even moves. That's the quiet factor. SwitchBot isn't just building a robot, they're building a home that's easier for robots to live in. Now, will that future arrive in 12 months? Probably not. But the fact that SwitchBot is even putting this on a CES floor and listing it in their store means the game is shifting from humanoids are a meme to humanoids are becoming a product category. And that is the real viral moment. So what do you think? Would you ever let a $9,999 humanoid robot roam your house? Or is this just another beautiful demo that collapses the moment reality shows up? Let us know in the comments. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel for more big announcements and unexpected twists like this video if you want more deep dives into the world of high tech, and check out our socials for more.